Hello and welcome to the Daily Atheist. In this episode, we're going to be continuing my series about my book, The Anti-Theist. In this episode, we're going to be covering Chapter 3 about Disproving God. Stick around. Okay, before we get too far, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, a like, and that little notification bell out there. Show me some love. All right, now on with the show. Okay, so how do you go about proving something or disproving something that doesn't exist? Really, in my mind, I shouldn't have to disprove it. It's you, the theist's job, to prove your God exists. Even if you could prove that there is an omniscient God, then that's only one part of the puzzle. Then you have to prove that the thing that you believe is the right God. All right, so even if I agreed there was a God, you can't prove it's God Yahweh. You can't disprove it's not Quetzalcoatl or Odin. You can't prove it's your God. In the Old Testament, God is very vengeful, spiteful. I mean, you do something wrong. If you do something in the Old Testament, God will do something blatantly bad to you. It happens over and over and over again. And not just to one person, to countless people's, some people were complaining. God said, Moses, separate yourself from those people. Moses did. God rent them asunder. And then some people are like, whoa, that was pretty rough. And Moses, you going to let God do that? Or and God's like, Moses, separate yourself from these people. You see what I mean? So God's all about proof. One of the things about God, especially the God of the Christians, Jews, and Muslims, is that when you look at the Old Testament, episode 1, if you will, the original story, I mean, God is all about wrath and anger and violence and, renting things asunder because, that's just God. Everybody knows the God of the Old Testament is angry and mean, and he has no problem killing, murder, death, kill, right and left, and has no problem proving to you that he exists so he could kill you. It's just all over the Old Testament. It's just dripping with God blood, right? Matter of fact, the next book I think I write is probably going to be called The Evil God Monster of Abraham. And it's going to be a book about God's actions in the Old Testament. They are that vile. So anyway, back to my story here. We go through these mental exercises about disproving and proving God exists or whatever. But really, we shouldn't have to disprove them. Not until somebody can prove their God exists. In an earlier chapter in my book, I didn't go over it in one of the videos. You got to go read the book, right? But there is a point where I compare, or I make a mental exercise or a premise that we should take scientists and put them in one hospital, and then take every different religion and put their healers and worshipers and whatever in their own hospitals. And whichever one has the highest success rates, obviously, would be the one true way, right? So Catholics could have their own hospitals, Protestants, Muslims, Jews, everybody can have their own hospital. Now the Jews, the Muslims, and the Christians and all that, they can't use science. They can use prayer, the power of prayer and the healing teachings of their faith, not the science that they've tried to suppress. No, they have to use the healing, the power of their God. See, it's leveraging the power of their God. If their God has power, let him prove it. Now, the whole deal is that they're going to say something like, well, our God doesn't have to prove anything to you that he exists. But, again, in the Old Testament, the God of the Bible has zero problem, proving that he exists and going about killing, murder, death people. Just go look anywhere in the Bible. The Jews, there's a part in the Bible where the Jews go up to God and he's on the mountain and they talk to him and ask him what to do about the Benjamites who have done horrible things and tried to have sex with his angels. So, or how they killed a girl. It's convoluted. Really, when we get into later chapters of my book, we cover that about the stories of Lot and his daughters and how God treated them, or allowed his hero of the story. The hero of the story is Lot. And what happens to Lot and his daughter? Well, first thing he does is tries to pitch his daughters out to these murderous, horny, homosexual Hebrews. Ancient at that. And that's the first thing. And then after that, he takes them and goes to a mountain and they have sex with him and have children. I mean, it's not like he is the hero of the story. He is the nephew of Abraham. That's holy is he. So that's the example being set. Of course, the wife, of course, she's just a pillar of salt. Anyway, so the purpose of this chapter is to point out the ridiculousness of what it is to try to disprove something that isn't there, that isn't real. I mean, there's nobody that can prove their God exists. Therefore, I have no need to disprove it. But in my book, what I talk about is I actually I still have it. It's packed away. A Minnesota Vikings cup. And it was broken here at the handle. We'd use super glue to put it back together again. And I was challenged, and come on, you know what? It's just me and God, apparently, alone in the room in this cup. If God really exists, have him destroy the cup. And obviously it didn't destroy the cup. No challenge you can make to God is good. Now, if you put the cup at the edge of the table and you kind of keep nudging it slowly towards the side, if you break the cup and then claim God broke it, it doesn't count. God can do anything. He has look what he did to Babylon and the people of the tower and all that. He has no finesse at all. He's just like a brute club. Where's his brute club? It's not present. It's never present. These subtle things that, something bad happens to me, therefore God didn't like me or is punishing me, that's just nonsense. That's craziness. To blame all the bad stuff on God or the person, and that's God taking out his will on the person, or all the good stuff is God's grace, that's just nuts. You can think that, but other people get through just fine in life with no problems. They live to ripe old ages. They're evil. They do bad things. There was an actor in England. I can't remember his name. I'll try to remember it and I'll put up a thing up here. I'm just kind of running off the riff right now. But there was this actor and he raped hundreds of kids and lived to a ripe old age as a movie star. And it wasn't until after he was dead that people started coming out. So he, in his mind, lived, his entire life in luxury and with money and all the kids that popular television and being a star in that era could provide. Where was God? No God. Did this guy have a special deal with the devil? Did his special deal with the devil overrule the power of God to protect God's children? This is just, this is nonsense. So this notion that you can prove God, especially by using things in the Bible, you can't. It's just impossible. There's so many contradictions in there that it just makes it ludicrous to think that it's true. Okay, so I kind of cut away, and we have, this is the actual mug, coffee cup from, here it is, six years later. And here it is, still alive, still kicking, has not been obliterated by God. The cup, as I mentioned in the book, it already had a crack around there, and in the time, the moving and whatnot, it has been broken off. But there it is, still alive, still kicking. So, what are your thoughts on disproving God? Do you have notions about it? Have you seen somebody else use different examples to help them disprove an argument for God? Let me know. Leave me a comment down below. And let me know what you think. Thumbs up, subscribe, like, show me some love. Thank you very much. Oh, yeah, and don't forget to follow the links below and, buy my book. Couldn't hurt. Buy the book. It's cheap or free if you got Amazon Prime. So do the thing, add it to your collection on Kindle. There's even a hard copy. You can go buy yourself a hard copy. So do the thing. Buy a book.